Hello, all my chickadees. Hello, hello, hello. We are back. Hello, Peridot. Thank you for popping in. Perks of all the having all the notifications turned on for you. Yeah, you were here instantly. And hello, Moa Moa. Hello. Sorry for making you guys wait a little bit. Are you doing okay? Are you doing okay? Yeah, I'm doing all right today. How are you doing, Moa Moa? Okay, okay. The reason it took me longer than normal to go from starting soon to actually going live is because I as always misjudged how long something would take. This morning I woke up and I was like, "Hey, I'm just going to sit here and cuddle with my kitty." And then I went, "Oh no. It's Wednesday. We got a live stream." My mic is cutting in and out. Can you hear me better now? Do 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 do. Can you hear me better now? I feel like that old TV commercial, you know, is like, "Can you hear me now?" Good. What was it? Verizon? Was it Verizon that did that? Okay, it might have been cutting in and out because I was turning my head to the side a lot. But yeah, I was like, "Oh, wait, it's Wednesday. We got a live stream." Oh, good to hear you're doing okay, Moa. You're a little tired? Oh, well, I'm still happy you were able to make it. Kitty! 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 What? Okay. Let me see. There we go. What? Do you need cuddles or something? Is that why you're stalking around? Is that why you're stalking around, kitty kitty? Oof. Okay, he decided to leave. Hello. Alrighty, we're going to dive back in with the disabled tyrant's beloved pet fish. Oh, what I was saying was, I misjudged time because I was like, I have enough time to eat before I go live. I'll be able to finish this big bowl of ramen in just like 5 minutes. No, no. I was inhaling it, okay? I'm still doing it. It's still cutting in and out? Huh. That's so weird. I can go ahead and... Wait a second. I think I know what's wrong. Okay, hang on. I think I know what's wrong. Alright, I know what's wrong. few days ago, I saw you on a YouTube ad. What? Oh, McDonald's with Grimace. Oh, are you saying I'm Grimace? Oh, you little rat. I love you, Moa Moa, but oh my god, you call me Grimace now. I think what's happening is because I opened OBS and didn't realize my microphone had been disconnected, so maybe that's why it's acting up a little. So... How bad is it? I might have to just stop stream and start it up again. Oh dear. Because things get really, really wonky whenever something's not connected when it should be connected. Oh, is it working good now? So it's working right now? I was about to just end the stream. But if our audio is going good, we'll get started. So it's working right now. Okay. Alright. Yeah, okay. Okay, good, because I was about to just stop. Okay, that's good. That means we can dive on in and get back to what we were doing. Okay. Hang on. I'm tilting for some reason. Oh, aren't lives fun? Alright, finally, we are going to dive on in and get back to it. Okay, there we go. Alright, this is going to be part 2 of our read-through of Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish. So we're going to be starting with chapter 6. If you haven't seen the other part, it is up on my my YouTube channel right now. Chapter 6. The fish swimming at the bottom of the bowl. The system gave Li Yu a tip. You don't need to enter the system first if you want to use the inventory. To use the shortcut, you can tap the jade scale 3 times. You can put anything within your field of vision inside, so long as it fits, just using your thoughts. The system continued talking. Li Yu smiled. As limited as the inventory space was, its method of usage was pretty cool. Not too shabby. He went to check on the main quest in the system. Just as he thought. The second task, Priceless Pet Fish, was now complete. The third task, which had previously been hidden away, was now revealed. The third task, Get Along with the Tyrant. Time limit, 3 days. Oh, he has a time limit on this one. Li Yu was speechless. Getting along with the Tyrant? Interacting with the Tyrant? Didn't the system know anything else? Not to mention, the bar for interacting had already been so high. He hadn't been able to do it alone. And he needed Prince Jing to participate as well. So what on earth did getting along with entail? And there was a fucking time limit too? What was going to happen if he didn't complete it before time ran out? Exceeding the time limit counts as a failure, and the user will become fish bones and fish... Alright, I got it. I just have to complete the task within 3 days, right? Can I at least rest today and start tomorrow? Sorry, the timer started from the moment you completed the second task. What? Li Yu took a closer look and realized it was right. Right next to the task was a small countdown. seconds ticking slowly down. This fucking system! Why didn't it let him know the timer had already started? What did he have slept for 3 days? Well, it's a scam system. It's a scam system. So, time still passed while he was in the system. Li Yu couldn't waste any more of it. He quickly exited and came back to the real world, arriving just in time to hear Wang Yi's voice. It turned out that while he was accepting his reward, Prince Jing and Wang Yi had already returned, and Wang Yi had spoken for a while. Luckily, the prince hadn't come over to visit Li Yu. He hurriedly swam around a little, shaking himself out of the dazed stupor to prove he was still very much alive. Pressing up against one side of the tank to listen, he could faintly hear Wang Ying's muffled voice. Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah. The system has no chill. It's just like, yeah, by the way. Why did the emperor call your highness to Kuangyi Palace so suddenly? The eunuch asked. This old servant heard the emperor had visited Zongqiu Palace, so I thought the noble consort must have said something to him. After all, that white cat is the noble consort's beloved pet. Something seemed to occur to Prince Jing. A mocking smile curled his lips. This servant doesn't mean anything else by that, said Wei Ying hastily. Of course, your highness wouldn't care for such things, but you do, at the very least, have to show some respect to the emperor. I'll accompany you and explain things clearly to him. I refuse to believe the noble consort can conceal the truth. In the first part, the cat ran into the prince's legs really hard. And he picked it up by the scruff. You know, while he had our beloved little fish in his mouth, he picked him up by the scruff and held him there for a little bit and then threw him over to one of the servants. So this spoilt noble consort is raising Cain because their cat wasn't treated like a priceless treasure when the cat started it. So, I'm a cat person. But the cat is not harmed. Cat was going to eat the main character. When Prince Jing showed no reaction, Wang Yi continued, Then I'll follow your highness. Mu Tianqi thought about it for a while before reaching over and blocking Wang Yi's way. He shook his head. Wang Yi froze. Your highness? Doesn't want the servant to come this time? As Prince Jing's personal servant, Wang Yi had taken care of the prince since he was a child. He could tell that the prince what the prince wanted from just a single glance. If the prince wanted to speak, Wang Yi was almost always able to say exactly what the prince wanted. The sudden summons of Prince Jing to Quangqing Palace led Wang Yi to guess the noble consort had probably hinted something to the emperor. Without Wang Yi there by his side, wasn't the prince doomed to take the fall? Prince Jing's dark eyes flicked to the top of his head expressionlessly. Wang Yi understood at once. The emperor ordered your highness to go alone? You're not allowed to bring anyone with you? Prince Jing nodded. Okay, even the emperor ordered him to come alone whenever he knows he is mute and he can't communicate on his own that easily. That's a little rough, Papa. Wang Yi was speechless. The emperor summoned Prince Jing and wouldn't allow him to speak? What was the meaning of this? The worst case scenario would be if, after years of Zongqiu Palace exerting its influence, the emperor turned his affections away from his highness and onto the second prince. Wang Yi's eyes immediately burned red. No, this old servant will follow your highness even if it means my death. Prince Jing looked at his sorrowful face and hesitated a moment, before tapping his shoulder lightly. Deliberately going against the Emperor's wishes would only give the other side an advantage. Besides, Prince Jing didn't think a mere noble consort could do anything to him. Then, what does your highness plan to do? Wang Yi sniffled. Prince Jing's distant gaze landed on the porcelain fish tank that stood behind Wang Yi. Your highness wants to... Wang Yi was shocked. He couldn't mean... The way Prince Jing held himself was calm and relaxed, an easy grace about him, the very picture of confidence. Wang Yi gritted his teeth. Since your highness has already made this decision, the servant will obey and go prepare. Li Yu heard everything. The noble consort wanted to make things difficult for Prince Jing, and Wang Yi was discussing a plan of action with the prince. But Li Yu wasn't worried about Prince Jing at all. In the book, even though the noble consort seemed to have the emperor's favor, she didn't end up living very long. Li Yu figured this wasn't a big deal, since there wasn't a detailed passage about this particular situation in the book. Nothing major was going to happen. Otherwise, how would Prince Jing ascend to the throne? Prince Jing was the kind of person who held grudges. An eye for an eye. If the noble consort really dared to try something, she wouldn't be reaping the rewards. She would be suffering the consequences. Anyway, as far as Li Ju was concerned, Prince Jing seeing the emperor was none of his business. He was a fish. All he had to do was wait quietly in his tank for the prince to come back before continuing with his task. While the 3-day time limit wasn't very long, it wasn't too bad either. He had completed his first 2 tasks entirely by chance, so perhaps it would be the same for this one. To his surprise, though, he watched Wang Yi rummaging through the prince's chest and shelves, where he procured a little jade bowl. He approached the tank with an ominous look on his face. Li Yu tensed. Wait, he can't talk? The Prince Jing, he is mute. That's why it's called the disabled Tyrant's beloved pet fish. He was born with a horrible speech issue, so he can't talk. He's mute. And Wang Yi, the eunuch that has been with him since he was a child, knows him so well because he's been with him so long that he can figure out what he needs to say just by like looks and glances and expressions and stuff. So taking away Wang Yi is like pretty much taking away his ability to speak. If he can't like write it down or something like that, people's not going to know what he's meaning. Wait, stop! What are you doing? Li Yu screamed. Wang Yi, sleeves rolled up, quickly snatched up Li Yu and deposited him in the jade bowl. The jade bowl was much too cramped, and the water it held was very shallow. There was barely space for Li Yu, who was forced to curl up into a circle to fit inside. He couldn't even swim normally, let alone roll around. If he exerted even a tiny bit of force, he would surface from the water. It wasn't very safe. Li Yu curled around himself pitifully. Wang Yi murmured to himself, "Little thing, you'll have to bear with this for a little while, since His Highness has decided to take you with him. Be good and don't embarrass him." Holy fucking shit. What was Wang Yi saying? Was Prince Jing okay? A man who couldn't speak bringing a fish that also couldn't speak. Li Yu didn't want to see any emperors or noble consorts. Knowing that Prince Jing was a noble prince, and that he had the rest of the plot line ahead of him, Li Yu didn't think the emperor would do anything to his son. But Li Yu, on the other hand, was an entirely different matter. He was just a fish. If the emperor didn't like him, he could easily throw him away or roast him. Wake up. It wasn't up to Li Yu to decide where he went. With this trip, the fate of his fish life was up in the air. He had to come up with a contingency plan, and fast. Sorry, I stumbled all over that word. There was still one spot in his inventory. Li Yu took a deep breath. While Wang Yi was distracted, he frantically tapped on his scale, thinking, "Let me save some clean water. I want water." He could survive as long as he had enough water, unless the Emperor decided to cut off his fish head. Though there was water inside the jade bowl he was in right now, it was much too shallow to feel safe. If the person holding the bowl had shaky hands, he was fucked. He wasn't gonna leave his life in some stranger's hands. He was gonna save himself by saving some water. Li Yu hadn't put anything in his inventory yet. He definitely didn't expect to come into use so quickly. He had only heard the system explain its application once, so he was purely relying on luck. The little boy's just like, "I want water, please." But that's pretty smart to store away some water just in case he really needed it. Good thing he had a pretty good memory and remembered most of what the system had said. Instantly, the water in the porcelain tank became shallower, while Li Yu's inventory filled with water. "I have water!" Satisfied, Li Yu put away his inventory. Wang Yi called a group of servants into the room. They were all busy with their own tasks, so no one noticed the volume of the water changing inside the porcelain tank. Prince Jing had decided to take the little carp to see the Emperor. Wang Yi had to make sure everything was taken care of. He prepared several small jade bowls of around the same size and volume, changes of clothing, all of which had to be taken along with the prince as a precaution. Wang Yi may not have been able to go with the prince to see the Emperor, but at least he could do was take care of the Prince Jing on the way there. Prince Jing gestured, indicating he would hold the little carp who was about to meet the Emperor. Wang Yi handed the bowl over respectfully, and Prince Jing glanced inside. The bowl was quite small, so the fish couldn't even fully stretch out inside. Wang Yi said there was nothing they could do about that. It wasn't like they could take a large bowl to see the Emperor. That would stick out like a sore thumb. The little carp might have been more comfortable, but what would the Emperor think? Prince Jing couldn't care less what the Emperor would think. The bowl was too cramped. He shot Wang Yi a judgmental glare. He's like, "I don't care what my father thinks. This fish is uncomfortable. You dare put him in such a tiny little bowl? This is ridiculous." Oh, he's being a good pet parent. Wang Yi thought his eyes were playing tricks on him and rubbed his eyes hard. Your Highness, you're going to see the Emperor. It's best if you take this jade bowl." Prince Jing sidestepped around him and pointed at a different bowl that had been taken out during Wang Yi's search for the jade bowl. This bowl was huge, with delicate ripples of water painted on the side. It was fully large enough to hold a pot of soup. Wang Yi's jaw dropped. Prince Jing was a stubborn man. Whatever he wanted, he was going to get. The large bowl was quickly brought over. Glancing briefly at Wang Yi, Prince Jing poured the little carp, along with the water, into the large bowl himself, then filled it up with more water. Li Yu was suddenly freed from the confines of the jade bowl. What happened? Why did it change again? But this new bowl was so much cooler. He liked it. Li Yu demonstrated his fishiness to the extreme, swimming and jumping around in his new domain. Since Prince Jing had moved him to a larger bowl, he had to amend his impression of the prince. Perhaps tyrants were, on occasion, good at taking care of their pets. Seeing how delighted the fish was, Prince Jing's lips twitched a little. After a second thought, he brought out the box of red fish feed. He carefully shook out a few pieces into the bowl, in case his fish became hungry in its overexcitement, as they made their way to the palace. Li Yu couldn't be more grateful, completely unaware that from afar, between the large bowl and the floating red pellets, he looked like a large bowl of goji fish soup. With one hand supporting the bowl on the bottom, Prince Jing covered the top with the other, in case the fish got too lively and jumped out. Even though he wasn't touching him directly, Li Yu could still feel the heat from his palm. It was warm and unexpectedly cozy. Li Yu had originally had doubts about whether this person was reliable, but if the prince protected him like this, it should be safe, right? The little carp's anxious heart gradually calmed until it settled down to the rhythm of Prince Jing's footsteps. Aww, he's taking care of his little fishy. Chapter 7: The Fish Meets the Emperor. Prince Jing brought Li Yu to Quangqing Palace. As they made their way over, the system, which had been silent this whole time, suddenly spoke to Li Yu. The prerequisites had been met for the side quest, Clear Bright Pearl. Would the user like to begin the quest? What was going on? He hadn't gotten along with Prince Jing yet, but now there was another quest? And a side quest, too. He couldn't glean anything from just its name, though. Li Yu didn't want to overcomplicate things by having to worry about a side quest and the main quest at the same time. He'd be overworking his poor fish brain. But out of curiosity, he still asked about the reward. It's cute he's taking him. It is. He's like, well, you can't come with me, but I'll take my little fishy. So, technically, he's not alone. The system replied, the reward for the quest is a temporary transformation medicine, allowing the user to return to human form for a short period of time. The effects will last 2 hours. There will not be any penalty for failing the side quest. A medicine that could turn him back into human? Why wasn't this brought up before? Even if it only lasted 2 hours, couldn't he just do the quest a couple more times, receive the reward over and over, and use them all after one the other? Then he could stay human forever! The reward can only be claimed once, the system mercilessly reminded him as it witnessed his naive stupidity. Fine. Already knew you were a fish scamming system. He absolutely had to do this side quest. He had nothing to lose if he failed. If he had the medicine to transform, he could pick a suitable day to eat a ton of human food, talk a lot, and go anywhere he wanted to. Li Yu was originally human, but it wasn't until he became a fish that he appreciated how freeing and delightful it was to be a human. It would only be a short couple of hours, but getting to re-experience being human for even that amount of time was simply too alluring. It's just one more task. I'll do it. This quest, called Clear Bright Pearl, consisted of only a single line. Obtain 1 luminous pearl. The stupid system's quest have always been vague in its instructions, but Li Yu was already used to it. He had no idea what a luminous pearl could possibly have to do with him, a fish. The system had previously explained that the side quest could only be activated after the corresponding prerequisites had been filled. Seeing how the side quest became active when Prince Jing was taking him to the Qingyang Palace, it must have something to do with seeing the Emperor. So, it didn't seem like he'd need to make any detours. Despite being royalty, Prince Jing didn't like to ride in the palanquin. Holding the little carp, with Wang Yi trailing behind, he made his way to the Quangqing Palace at a leisurely stroll. The head eunuch, Lo Rixing, had already been waiting in front of the doors to the Qingyang Palace for some time, and as soon as he saw Prince Jing, he rushed forward to meet him, bowed, and escorted him inside. Wang Yi couldn't go in. so all he could do was wait anxiously outside the palace. They had finally arrived. Li Yu swam to the water's surface, taking in the view of Qingyang Palace. As expected of the emperor's quarters, it was a majestic and extravagant structure, filled with all sorts of rare and precious furnishings. The scent of sandalwood wafted by. Li Yu was utterly mesmerized. As magnificent as the room was, though, there was no fish tank in sight. Li Yu much preferred the quarters with the porcelain fish tank. It was only because of this excursion that he discovered Prince Jing was keeping him in Jingting Hall. Even after the title of prince was bestowed upon him, and he left the palace, Jingting Hall, where Prince Jing had grown up, was still reserved for him. It truly was Prince Jing's territory. Li Yu was quietly proud of himself for managing to get into the tyrant's lair without much effort. He scanned his surroundings, but to his dismay, he didn't spot any luminous pearls. Li Yu had hoped the system would give him some hints, especially since the side quest had come out of nowhere, but there hadn't been another peep from the stupid system since it announced the side quest. Li Yu had to set both the main and side quest aside for the time being. Without any leads, all he could do was leave it up to fate. Seeing the Emperor was more important right now. In the book, the Emperor had quite a backstory with Prince Jing. In the original story, Prince Jing's mother, Princess Xiaohu, had already been in ill health before she gave birth to the prince. After he was born, she couldn't bear the fact that her son was mute, and she passed away shortly afterwards. The emperor deeply loved and respected Prince Xiaohu. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I'm gonna have to look it up to get the correct way to say it. So his feelings for his son had always been complicated, and he never grew very close to him. This was especially clear after Prince Jing turned 16, when the emperor ordered him to move out of the palace and into his own manor. All the other princes had only received their respective manors after they were married, but it didn't seem to matter to the emperor that Prince Jing remained unmarried to this day. As such, many people believed Prince Jing was unwanted and unloved. Li Yu was not one of those many people. The reason the emperor was so distant from Prince Jing wasn't because he didn't care for him, but because he sought to protect him. As the empress's son, Prince Jing had a much higher status than most, but no matter how noble he was, his muteness prevented him from inheriting the throne. Although the emperor had no desire to foster a close relationship with Prince Jing due to his wife's death, he was still his cherished wife's flesh and blood. Ordering him to move into his own manor early was the emperor's way of protecting his son. Ultimately, the emperor hoped his son would be able to live a peaceful life. All else aside, Prince Jing wasn't really the tolerant type. When he was a child and the other young princes taunted him for being mute, Prince Jing would just roll up his sleeves and beat them up. After the emperor found out, everyone was punished. But he also privately warned the other princes to be kinder to Prince Jing. With Prince Jing's inability to speak, his education was a challenge too. But the emperor specially appointed a strict teacher who had experience teaching mute and deaf students. The emperor never voiced his love for Prince Jing, but his actions spoke for him. Li Yu, however, therefore, was not at all worried about this trip. In the main hall of Qingyang Palace, the emperor sat on a throne carved with intricate flying dragons, draped in bright yellow imperial robes. He nodded slightly when Prince Jing entered. Tianqi, you've arrived. Okay, so the emperor, everyone's like, oh, the emperor, like, booted him off to his own individual place as soon as he turned 16. They just wanted to get rid of him, and everybody thinks the Emperor doesn't care about him, but clearly he really cares about him and wants to take care of him in his own way. Getting him a special teacher, making sure he has his own place. That's something. That's really nice. Yeah. Hmm. Okay, I was downing the last of my tea before it got too cold to handle. Yeah, we'll probably read like 5 chapters today because we read 5 chapters last time. But this chapter was very short. Holy crap. Yeah, look. 1, 2, 3. That one was 3 pages long. That was so short. Oh, look! We got a picture! Okay, there's the Emperor. And there's our boy. Oh, is that our there's a bowl on the table. I guess that's our that's where Liu is. All right. Aw, yeah, he's showing his respect to his father. Aw. It's nice to know that the Emperor really does actually care for him. Okay, are you guys ready for this? This is gonna be fun. Oh my gosh, I hope we get to, I think we will. I think we will get to this one part today. We should get to it. If not, I might read a little longer just to get to it because oh my god, it's so freaking hilarious. All right. Oh, okay. We're still in the same chapter. We're still in the same chapter. It was just a picture break. Okay. Never mind. It wasn't a short chapter. Prince Jing set the large bowl that had held the little carp on a small table off to the side and bowed seriously. The Emperor beckoned him to stand back up, smiling. As he looked at his son from a distance, he noted that Prince Jing was not as cold and quiet, was just as cold and quiet as always. Naturally, the Emperor's gaze fell on the large bowl Prince Jing had brought. In the Emperor's experience, bowls generally held soup. If someone came into Quan Quing Palace with a bowl, they were usually there to present the soup to him. Assuming that Prince Jing knew what he had done wrong and had brought an offering of soup to apologize, the Emperor chuckled. How considerate of you. The misunderstood Prince Jing wasn't sure how to respond. Of his sons, the Emperor rarely tried to get closer to this one. He felt his heart warming at the sight of the prince trying to please him. He immediately ordered Lao Runxing to bring forward the prince's soup. Prince Jing couldn't speak. There was nothing he could do to stop Lo Gong in time, and the head eunuch nimbly picked up the large bowl before he could make his objection clear. Another eunuch waited on the side, handed over a silver needle. At first glance, the soup looked like goji fish soup. Needle in hand, Lo Gong was about to test it for poison like usual, when he made eye contact with the lively little carp that had poked its head out of the water to watch all the commotion. Lo Gong was so alarmed that he nearly dropped the bowl. Ayo! Prince Jing, what did you bring? Equally startled by Lo Gong's sudden appearance, Li Yu immediately sank to the bottom of the pool. It's alive! Lo Gong realized with a start. This wasn't fish soup. What exactly did Prince Jing bring? What exactly did Prince Jing bring? The Emperor was too far away to see, but Lo Gong's exclamation had made him curious. While Lao Gong struggled to think of how to answer, Prince Jing got up, approached Lao Gong, and took the bowl back, all without saying a single word. The Emperor looked on in befuddlement. Prince Jing proceeded to bring the large bowl before the emperor himself. But he didn't look like he had any intention of handing it over. His hands remained clamped around the bowl. The large bowl, with its water ripple pattern, held a large volume of water. Swimming inside was a small, palm-sized carp. The emperor paused. Prince Jing, what is the meaning of this? Mo Tianqi smiled as he reached a finger into the water, swirling it gently. Li Yu had managed to steal a glance at the emperor from within the water and saw a middle-aged man with a square face and a short mustache. It was fortunate that Prince Jing's other features were more like the empress's, Li Yu thought, and that he only shared his eyes with his father. If he looked more like the emperor, it would have been a blow to his good looks. He's saying the emperor's ugly. Perhaps because he sensed Li Yu's criticism, the prince suddenly dipped his hand into the water. Li Yu was at a loss for what to do. He realized after a few seconds that the prince was playing with him. But they were standing before the emperor right now. What was the prince trying to do? Ever since Prince Jing had switched out his bowl, Li Yu knew the prince wasn't planning on giving him to the emperor. When it came to presenting gifts to the emperor, looks were paramount. Of course, a small dainty jade bowl would have been more suited to the ruler's taste. But since the prince had passed on the jade bowl, it was clear he had no plans on using him to try to please the emperor. In that case, why did the prince bring him to see the emperor? Why play with him in front of the emperor? Oh well, who cared? If the master wanted to play with his pet, it was the pet's duty to respond. Li Yu shoved down his embarrassment. This wasn't the first or second time he had to act cute for Prince Jing. He swam, stopping in between the prince's fingers. After hesitating for a moment, Li Yu nuzzled his fish mouth against Prince Jing's finger affectionately. Whoa, there was a smell of fish food, the mouth-watering red kind. His movements was initially a little stiff, but as time went on, he began willingly chasing after the other man's fingers. As Prince Jing looked down at the little carp swimming happily in his bowl, a light shone faintly in his eyes. The emperor almost thought he was seeing things. Prince Jing had always been cold and harsh, keeping his emotions under tight lock and key, and yet here he was, playing with a fish in a way that could only be described as gentle. In the past, concerned that Prince Jing was too unsociable, the emperor had tried sending many cats and dogs to his son in hope of providing him with a companion. But the prince never even spared them a single glance, never mind accepting one of them. At the time, the emperor thought the prince perhaps simply disliked pets. But now, for some reason, Prince Jing, who didn't like pets, was making an exception for a fish? Of all things? Dazed, the emperor considered the different possibilities. After a while, and with great difficulty, he opened his mouth. Do you mean to say you started taking care of this fish? Mo Tianqi nodded slightly. Prince Jing had actually decided to raise a pet fish. The emperor was flabbergasted. It wasn't a bad thing, since this son of his seemed to finally demonstrate some human feelings, but this fish? It wasn't even a precious, auspicious koi. It was a little run-of-the-mill carp. It looked like the kind that was usually made into soup. Prince Jing's taste sure were something. At this point, the emperor had already forgotten why he had summoned the prince. A pet fish, he said with a twitch of his lips, sounding a little forced. Not bad. Li Yu watched Prince Jing nod and felt like a little pony had trotted proudly across his heart. Although Wang Gong and even Li Yu himself had long since accepted that he was a Prince Jing's pet, this was the first time the prince had acknowledged it himself. Did the prince bring him here for the sole purpose of announcing Li Yu as his pet in front of the emperor? What a high profile and distinguished pet he was! Li Yu was floating on cloud 9. The point of the main quest, priceless pet fish, was to him to become Prince Jing's pet fish after all. And now the prince had straight up announced he was his pet in front of the emperor. Didn't that mean... Okay. I have a tablet open for Twitch, and it just like shut off and came back on its own. I'm like, okay, I don't... Okay, tablet, you do you. And now the prince had straight up announced he was his pet fish in front of the emperor? Didn't that mean the main quest was complete? Look, Dad, I have a friend. Exactly. That's exactly what is going on. A eunuch rushed in, announcing that the noble consort and the second prince were outside, requesting an audience. That was it when the emperor remembered why he had summoned Prince Jing. He gave the prince a meaningful look, but he was so busy playing with his fish that he didn't react. The emperor sighed lightly. Let them in. He's like, I'm too busy with my fish. I don't care. Chapter 8. The fish is angry. Why are you angry, Li Yu? Li Yu was right next to Prince Jing. When he heard the noble consort was coming, he wanted to take a look at her. Having already seen the emperor, who looked roughly the same as the description in the book, Li Yu also wanted to see what the woman who dared provoke a tyrant looked like. Except his current position was a little off to the side, and his view was blocked. Li Yu kept swimming back and forth, straining to peek, but to no avail. Just when he was about to give up and resort to eavesdropping, Prince Jing, who had been observing him for a little while, moved the bowl so that it faced the entrance to the palace perfectly. Li Yu was startled. A coincidence? Did the prince somehow notice him trying to look at the noble consort? Oh, he angry. Yeah, he gonna be angry. Prince Jing had demonstrated a considerable aptitude for pet fish care so far, but there was no way he could be this attentive. Hang on, I just realized I don't have chat up on the screen here. Oh gosh, and I have alert off too. Oh my god. I'm sorry. It took me an hour to realize I had it off. Ugh. Because actually, if someone subscribes while I'm like recording offline, it will pop up while I'm recording. So I turn it off when I'm recording, but I forgot to turn it back on. I am sorry. Alright. Where were we? Prince Jing had demonstrated a considerable aptitude for pet fish care so far, but there was no way he could be this attentive, right? Perhaps he just felt like moving the bowl. No big deal. Li Yu quickly convinced himself not to get caught up in pointless speculation. Since he had a clear view, he was now going to look his fill. Before long, a graceful woman draped in imperial robes walked into view, surrounded by attendants and servants and leading a tall youth. Noble consort Qui's hair was heavy with pearls and jade. Crabapple blossoms in full bloom was embroidered around the hem of her light purple robes. With skin brighter than snow, she was beautiful beyond compare, and it was obvious the noble consort knew how to take care of herself. If it wasn't for the tall second prince trailing behind her, with eyes that looked rather like hers, it would have been very difficult to discern that she was already at least 30. Yeah, that's her kid. Oh, there she is. there she is, a noble consort, and she's got her prince trailing behind her. Yeah, she look at that. Look at that look. She knows. She knows. She knows she's special. Li Yu sighed dreamily. It was no wonder such a beauty was the most favored concubine in recent years. According to the book, noble consort Q was at the peak of her life at this point in the story. The emperor had already privately let her know that he planned on making her son, the second prince, Mute Tianzhao, the crown prince. The emperor, like many emperors of the past, wished for his D son. Let's see. The D son is a son born before the D wife. The D wife is considered the official wife of the man, even if he has multiple wives. Sons born to the D wife have higher status in the family than the Shu sons, born to other wives. In non-royal families, the eldest D son is usually the one who inherits the father's title. In the royal family, the eldest D son is usually the first one to be considered for the throne. Okay, so our boy is the D son. He should have been able to inherit it, but because of his disability, he was taken out. So the emperor, like many emperors of the past, wished for his D son to inherit the throne. Years ago, he made his first son, the empress's son, the crown prince, only for the boy to tragically pass away at the age of 7. The emperor and empress grieved for years until the empress gave birth to the 4th prince. Okay, to explain it really quickly, the first son, which was the crown prince, passed away at 7. And from, that was born to the empress. Now, where he has concubines and everything, prince number 2 and 3 were born to concubines. Like, the second prince is the one we just met here. So he is the oldest prince alive at the moment. And he's still considered the second prince because he's the second one born. But he is the eldest prince at the moment. And so the third son was born to a concubine as well. And Prince Jing is the 4th son. He was born to the emperor as well. Until the empress gave birth to the 4th prince. The emperor once again had thoughts of making him the crown prince, but unfortunately the 4th prince was not blessed. Wait, never mind. I should have kept reading. He's not the 4th prince. I thought he was the 4th prince. Okay, never mind. He suffered a cold at 2 years old and unexpectedly passed away at an even younger age. Okay, so the empress gave birth to the 1st prince, who died at 7, and then concubines had the 2nd and 3rd prince. The 4th prince was born to the empress, who passed away from an illness. Okay, so far, 4 princes, 2 are dead. Okay. One after another, Empress suffered the loss of her sons. Despite how fragile her health had become, she was determined to give birth to the 5th prince, Prince Jing. Okay, he's the 5th prince, not the 4th prince. Regardless of how reckless it might have been, but the heavens decided to play a cruel joke on the emperor and empress, and both of them received a great shock when they realized the youngest D son was born mute. After empress passed away, the emperor felt his fate could not be aligned with his D sons, so he never mentioned making anyone the crown prince again. But now, after 20 years, there was finally some movement from the emperor, and noble consort Q could not be more ecstatic. Although the emperor's favor towards her was as clear as day, he never showed any hint of granting her the title of empress. But so what? As long as her son, the second prince, was named crown prince and ascended to the throne, it made no difference if she was the empress or not. The noble consort thought her suffering had finally come to an end. She even seemed to walk with a spring in her step. Once Lady Kia had greeted the emperor along with the second prince, the emperor asked her to approach. As he attended to pronounce the second prince as the crown prince, he had to afford her this respect. The noble consort smiled daintily and sat down next to the emperor. She glanced down at Prince Jing, her expression victorious. So what if he was the son of the empress? So what if he was born more noble than her son, the second prince? Prince Jing would still need to bow his head to the crown prince, the future emperor. She and the second prince shared a knowing smile, but Prince Jing didn't make any indication that he noticed. Oh, so she's just like, my prince is better. He's gonna be the crown prince. It doesn't matter if you're born of the queen or not. I don't like her. Okay, so far, we know there's been 5 princes. I can't remember if there's any more. We'll find out. So far, there's been 5 princes, and 2 were dead. 2 died in childhood. So that means there's a second prince, a third prince, and the 5th prince. Prince Jing's gaze never strayed from the little carp. His finger was still submerged in the water, playing with the fish's smooth back every now and then. Li Yu was getting a little pissed off at him from all the touching. Hey, you're being too rough. A fish can't take it. Li Yu evaded his hand, glaring fiercely at Prince Jing. When Prince Jing found his fingers fishless, his dark, unblinking stare lingered pointedly on the little carp. The temperature in the air around them suddenly plummeted. Was the tyrant angry because Li Yu wouldn't let him squeeze him? Fine, whatever. Good fish didn't fight with humans, especially not their owners. He knew Prince Jing was probably upset at the sight of the noble consort Q sitting next to the emperor. What child would be happy seeing another woman take his mother's place? Lady Q was full of smiles, but her smiles held an edge of provocation. She was clearly showing off. I don't like her either. Good. We are a united front. Prince Jing was obviously in a bad mood. Li Yu decided. He had a good reason for using him as a stress ball. He leaned back in, nuzzling Prince Jing's finger, hoping to make him feel better. I'll let you squish me, but don't be so rough, okay? Prince Jing pursed his lips at the way the fish was clearly trying to please him, and continued to squeeze the fish's back. Li Yu endured it in silence. If he felt the Prince Jing was truly being too rough and couldn't take it anymore, he would dart to the side with a swing of his tail. But a little while later, he would always swim back, allowing Prince Jing to use him as an outlet for his anger. The little carp didn't seem to hate his touch, Prince Jing noted, but why did it keep shying away and then coming back? Was he handling his fish too harshly, he wondered? The prince's touch became gentler. Li Yu instantly felt better. Who knew having his back squeezed like this could feel this nice? It was even a little ticklish. Li Yu curled his tail around the prince's finger to show that he liked it. Prince Jing realized this little carp wasn't that hard to understand after all. Fish and human were absorbed in their own little world. They didn't care how it might look to anyone else. Oh, he learned he was petting him too hard. Oh, that's cute. Having already seen Prince Jing like this, the emperor watched the fish with the little carp, watched the prince with the little carp with rapt attention. He never knew his cold-hearted, distant son could play with a fish. Meanwhile, noble consort Q's smile was frozen on her face. Prince Jing had managed to humiliate her without saying a single word. "What's the matter with Prince Jing?" she asked, trying to get the emperor to notice the prince's rudeness. There was a smile warming the emperor's face as he said, "Noble consort, Prince Jing has started caring for a fish recently. What do you think?" Of course, Lady Q didn't think it was any good at all. She had come here with a goal, and she wasn't going to sit back and watch a drab gray fish disrupt her plans. If the emperor was acting like this, he must have forgotten what she told him earlier and was feeling soft towards Prince Jing. But the noble consort had come prepared. She tossed a glance to one of her trusted servants waiting on the side. The servant immediately left and then quickly returned with a snowy white ball in her arms. Lady Q delightedly hugged the snowy ball to her chest and smoothed its fur. She said gently, "Has the emperor forgotten about my Piaozu after seeing Prince Jing's fish?" By now the emperor had also remembered why he had summoned Prince Jing. He chuckled, rubbing his nose. The snowy white cat slowly raised its eyes and let out a meow. It was clearly conspiring with its owner. Li Yu, who had been playing with Prince Jing, heard the meow and was so alarmed that all his fins stood on end. "Did, Queen Khan Palace also have a cat?" Carefully, Li Yu swam to the surface of the water to see what was going on. And there it was, nestled in the noble consort's arms. The snow-white cat's sapphire eyes homed in on him immediately. The shape, that sound. Wasn't this his greatest enemy? With a shudder, Li Yu immediately dove down to the bottom of the water, but it was too late. As soon as the large white cat laid eyes on him, it let out an excited yowl, scrambled out of the noble consort's arms, and shot towards him like an arrow. "Ah, save me! The cat wants to eat fish!" "Oh no, here we go again. He's being targeted." He had thought that if he ever came face to face with his arch nemesis again, he'd be able to find some escape route. Or if worse came to worse, he'd slap the cat in the face with his tail. It wasn't until he was in front of the cat for real that he realized its teeth had left a serious mark on its instincts. Just the memory of that bite was enough to make him tremble. Trapped in the bowl, Li Yu had nowhere to escape to, leaving him with no choice but to curl into a ball beneath Prince Jing's hand. He prayed the large white cat wouldn't see him, but he knew he was fooling himself. The cat wasted no time in pouncing, and it showed no fear of water as it opened its mouth to snap up the fish. Just as it seemed as though Li Yu was going to end up in the cat's mouth, Prince Jing held the curled up little carp in his hand closer to him. The cat bit down on empty water. "Meow?" Confused, the white cat looked up and saw a face that he would never forget. "Meow!" Suddenly the cat felt like all hope was lost. These damn cats. I know, right? Prince Jing's face was as icy as frost. With a flick of his fingers, the white cat was flung off, barreling into the legs of the servant who had brought it. The servant let out a scream of pain. The impact left the white cat dizzy, but it managed to stand back up, shaking its head fiercely. It abandoned any thoughts of catching the fish and rushed straight back into the noble consort's arms. From his hiding place under Prince Jing's hand, Li Yu peeked out from the gaps between the prince's fingers. Prince Jing was rolling with laughter, as expected of his tyrant master. The white cat got what it had coming again. Noble consort was secretly delighted at seeing Prince Jing raise a hand in front of the emperor. She bent down to pick up her white cat, which was still howling pitifully, and made a show of examining it. She pretended to be distressed as she scolded. "Piaozu, you terrible thing! Haven't you learnt from last time? Why did you have to provoke Prince Jing? Do you not take me seriously?" All of Li Yu's happiness evaporated at her words. He was so furious that if he had a foot, he would have stamped it. While the noble consort seemed to be reprimanding her cat, in reality she was playing one of her little games. She was reminding the Emperor that this wasn't the first time Prince Jing had taught her beloved pet a lesson, and he didn't treat her with the respect she deserved, as a noble consort and as his shoe mother. After Lady Keys spoke, of course, the second prince, Mute Zhao, piped up in support. My brother, the fifth prince, is just being a little mischievous. He didn't mean any harm. Royal father, mother, please don't blame him. Li Yu's eyes rolled back in his head. He blew out a huge bubble with a pop and turned his tail disdainfully towards the second prince. The second prince's voice was mild, but underneath that gentle veneer was a ruthless countenance, even more so than the noble consort. While the noble consort played her little games, the second prince was practically accepting Prince Jing's guilt for him by saying he had no ill intentions, as though afraid the emperor couldn't reach that conclusion of his own. This evil cannon fodder! Despite knowing Prince Jing would eventually inherit the throne, and Mute Zhao and noble consort would both meet grisly ends, Li Yu couldn't help but feel a little anxious. This mother-son duo was teaming up and taking advantage of the fact that Prince Jing couldn't speak, especially since Prince Jing didn't have Wang Yigong with him this time. Prince Jing had saved him so many times now, Li Yu couldn't sit idly by and watch them bully him. But what could he, a fish stuck in a bowl, do to the noble consort and her son, who were like the sun, shining brightly in the middle of the sky? Li Yu was so indignant his cheeks puffed up. He started to swim in frustrated circles in the bowl. The noble consort and her son's actions had the desired effect. The emperor's expression darkened as he remembered the noble consort's tearful complaint from earlier. Prince Jing, I heard you threw her cat on her birthday. Is this true? Let him fight. Yes. That little fish wants to go to war. He'd throw hands if he could. I love it. That's like so cute though. His little cheeks poofed up. He's like, me. He's so angry. On the day of her birthday, the noble consort had gone crying to the emperor that the prince had hurled her precious pet. Now that he had witnessed Prince Jing's treatment of Piaozhu with his own two eyes, he was starting to believe the noble consort. Not that the emperor had any affection for the cat. It was merely a pet. Who cared if Prince Jing wanted to hit it or kill it? Privately, the emperor didn't think it was much of a concern, but the situation involved the noble consort, who was, after all, Prince Jing's shoe mother. Behind her was the second prince, who was also the emperor's choice for crown prince. The emperor didn't want there to be any bad blood between Prince Jing and the future crown prince, which was why he had summoned Prince Jing in the first place. He wanted to get to the bottom of the situation and give the noble consort an explanation appropriately enough to appease her. But Prince Jing gave the noble consort a fleeting, cold glance and made no move to explain. He continued to play with his little carp, eyes lowered. For some reason, though, this little fish's cheeks were puffed out. It was especially obvious when noble consort Q spoke, almost as if he was angry. Prince Jing was rather amused. Could this fish see through the noble consort and her son's trickery too? Yes, he can. He can sense bullshit. Chapter 9. This fish is belly up. Alright, I'm actually going to take a little break. So I'm going to go get some more water. So, I need to move that down a little. Come here. Come here. Meow. Ah. Okay. Move that down a little. There we go. Okay, so we're going to take a little break. It's been about an hour. So everybody, get up, stretch, take medicine if you need to take medicine, go to the bathroom, grab a snack, grab something to drink, and we'll be back here in just a couple of minutes. Alright, and we'll see why this fish is gonna go belly up. Oh god, not belly up. That is not good for a fish. That is not good for a fish at all. Alright, it'll be about a 5-minute break. I need to learn how to put the timer back on screen. But alright, I'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody had a nice little break. Do. Oh goodness, our little fish boy is ready for war. Apparently he's gonna go belly up. It's like, what are you doing, my boy? What you doing, my boy? Alrighty. Just giving it a minute to make sure everybody can get back in alright. Yes. Alright, let's see. Chapter 9. The fish is belly up. In the face of Prince Jing's clear indifference, the emperor felt a little awkward. Fifth brother, our royal father is asking you a question, Tianzhao reminded him, with what might have been a smile. The second prince had always been a little wary around Prince Jing because of the difference of their statuses. Now that he was about to become the crown prince, though, he was going to take all that back. Prince Jing looked up, but not to acknowledge the second prince. Instead, he looked at the head eunuch, Lao Rianxi. Lao had been prepared ever since the emperor had ordered Prince Jing to enter Qing Kwang Palace alone. At Prince Jing's glance, Lao Gonggong ordered a few servants to bring the necessary ink and paper before him. It might be a bit inconvenient, but even if he couldn't speak, he could still write. Yay, at least they had like a backup for him. Prince Jing accepted the brush with his right hand, his left still playing with the fish. He couldn't even look at what he was doing. He just wrote a couple of strokes and tossed the brush away. He could care less. He couldn't care less. Not daring to look at what the prince had written, Lao Rishun brought the prince's writing right up to the emperor, his head lowered. When the emperor's gaze fell on the strong, powerful strokes that made up the vigorous characters, he couldn't help feeling a little pang of sadness in his heart. But this was not the time to admire the prince's calligraphy. The only thing the prince had written was, "It deserved it." For as long as the emperor could remember, the prince had never once lied. This was the reason the emperor had decided to summon him, to question him directly. Back when Prince Jing had punched the other princes, he never tried to hide what he'd done, so the emperor didn't think he would deceive him in this instant. Since the prince said the cat deserved it, then something must have happened that he didn't know about. He couldn't be too hasty. The emperor's expression darkened, and he looked towards the head eunuch Lao. Lao Rixing, go find out who else saw what happened that day. Noble Consort's face twisted, betraying her panic. She had spent so much time preparing for this moment, but now the emperor was doubting her just because of a couple of random words from Prince Jing. But as the noble consort dabbed at the corners of her mouth with a silk handkerchief, embroidered with crabapple blossoms, her somewhat ferocious expression settled back into its beautiful facade. So what if the emperor investigated? There wasn't a shadow of doubt that Prince Jing abused the cat. Not to mention, she even had an eyewitness. It would be good if Prince Jing admitted it, but it would be even better if he made a fuss and refused to confess. Zhao Lingzi was quickly brought over from the imperial kitchen. The emperor decided to carry out the questioning himself since the matter involved his son, Prince Jing. Zhao Lingzi knelt there, his voice quivering as he recounted everything he saw that day. The servant saw. As soon as Prince Jing saw the noble consort cat, he grabbed it, he finished. Of course, noble consort was at least 2 steps ahead, having ordered her trusted servants to bribe Zhaoanzi before he even came to stand before the emperor. She knew the witness would be on her side. Your Imperial Majesty, it seems I didn't misunderstand the situation. Shouldn't Prince Jing give me an explanation? She smiled. Prince Jing, do you have anything to say? Was this what all his questioning had come to? The Emperor rubbed his brow. He was getting a little tired. A ruthless light flashed in Prince Jing's eyes. Noble consort must have gotten her claws into Zhao Linzi, distorting the truth. He originally wanted to request that the Emperor should summon a guard who had been working at the time for questioning. He doubted Zhao Linzi was the only eyewitness in such a large palace. But after considering the matter further, he quickly lost all desire to do so. It didn't matter if there were eyewitnesses present that day or not. Each side would have their own version of what happened. The situation wouldn't change. Why go through all the hassle? No, he'd be better off going straight for Zhao Linzi's throat. It was unlikely this person would stick to his story under threat of having his throat sliced open. It'd be the quickest and most effective way to force him to tell the truth. She can have fun explaining these hands. Yeah, really. She needs it. She needs a good whack. Don't do it. Li Yu was extremely worried. He had a pretty good guess as to what Prince Jing's next move would be. Having read the original book, Prince Jing would be walking straight into the noble consort's trap if he got violent in front of the Emperor, further souring his relationship with his father. But if he didn't resort to violence, what could Prince Jing do? The noble consort had clearly become prepared. First, she had managed to convince the Emperor to prevent Wang Yi from accompanying Prince Jing, effectively taking away the prince's voice. Now she provided an eyewitness who was extremely unfavorable towards Prince Jing. The prince was out of options. Aside from Zhao Linzi, the only ones who were present at that time were the cat and Li Yu. With Zhao Linzi deep in noble consort Qian's pockets, there was no way he'd speak the truth. Who was left beyond Prince Jing's witness? The cat? Was there perhaps other evidence? Without realizing it, Li Yu had drifted to the bottom of the bowl. He'd forgotten to even keep swimming, trying his hardest to remember how the white cat had run into Prince Jing. He's thinking so hard he's not even swimming no more. all of his brain power is focusing on this. An image came to him. When he peeked at Prince Jing changing, he had caught sight of what looked like a bruise on his leg. He had been so embarrassed at the time he didn't take a good look, and what he had seen had been too brief. Besides, it wasn't out of the ordinary for a man to have some bumps and bruises on his body, so Li Yu didn't think much of it. But we remembered the bruise had been right on his shin, around the same height as the cat. Was that Piao Zhu's doing? It was possible. If it were true, then it would prove the cat had attacked Prince Jing, and he had just caused for punishing it. Li Yu felt a rush of excitement at the thought of being able to clear Prince Jing's name. But now came the hard part. How could he let the prince know about his epiphany? He couldn't speak, so he had to get inventive. Desperately, he concentrated all his energy on his tail and mustered up the strength he had to swing it. The fish's tail came smacking down, and with a splash, almost half the water in the bowl sloshed out. In the silent Qianyang Palace, so quiet you could hear a pin drop, the sound of the water splashing onto the golden tiles was downright cacophonic. I'm sorry, I can't say that word today. Oh. Pretty much the water was loud. There we go. The Emperor's eyes darted to the fish. Prince Jing, what is wrong with your fish? He asked, baffled. Prince Jing had been staring daggers at Zhao Linzi. His glower was enough to convey his thoughts. You're a dead man. But the little carp's sudden movement, he had turned to look at the fish, where it waited expectantly for him. Closer, closer. Now! A quick and accurate swish of his tail, and Liu splashed all the remaining water in the bowl at Prince Jing. Prince Jing had rolled up his sleeves to keep himself dry while he played with the fish, but in just a split second his face, chest, and robes were completely soaked, with his pants as the biggest casualty. Prince Jing said nothing, but his expression was like a dark storm cloud as he wiped at the water dripping down his face. Liu zipped to the bottom of the bowl to hide, terrified to look at Prince Jing. Sob, sob, sob. The tyrant looked ready to explode, but he had no other choice. Plus, he didn't know it would get this wet. Would the tyrant deal with him first, then Xiaolin Zi before going to change his clothes? Prince Jing was reaching toward him. Liu squeezed his eyes shut. Was this tyrant about to kill a fish? But after waiting with bated breath, all Liu felt was a light tap on his head, followed by a touch on his back. He was dumbfounded. Prince Jing glared at the troublemaking little carp, before getting up and bowing to the emperor. The emperor understood and said, "You may change quickly. We'll continue this once you return." Wang Yi had been standing just outside, waiting anxiously. As soon as he saw this window of opportunity, he rushed in with a set of dry clothes for Prince Jing and slipped into the side hall to help him change. Liu let out a sigh of relief. Thank goodness Prince Jing didn't lose his temper. He had intentionally splashed water on Prince Jing's pants in hope that in the hope that the prince would see the bruise on his leg when he changed, and think to use it as proof. But it was fine, even if the prince never saw it, because Liu has still managed to buy the prince some time to cool down. I mean, didn't he already cool him down with the water? In addition, now that Wang Yi was here, there was someone who could protect and speak for Prince Jing. Together, the prince and Wang Gonggong should be able to come up with a strategy to deal with the noble consort. If worse came to worse, and they were forced to concede this particular conflict to the noble consort, the emperor would, at most, ask Prince Jing to apologize to her. He wouldn't actually punish the prince. It would leave the noble consort and her son feeling smug for a while, but Prince Jing could always get his revenge later. As he waited for Prince Jing to finish changing, Liu swished his tail happily at how well everything had played out. Lady Qi eyed the prince. Okay, she didn't eye the prince. Eyed the fish Prince Jing had brought. For years she held a mix of hatred and envy for Prince Jing in her heart. Prince Jing may not be present in the room right now, but she wasn't going to let him go unsaved. She stood up, sauntered over, and peered down with interest at the fish in the bowl. Something seemed to occur to her as she let out a light peal of laughter. Mute Prince Jing had followed her over. He chuckled. "Mother, what is this fish? I've never seen the likes of it before." He and his mother both had that kind of attitude to things they considered beneath them, so it was really the first time Miao Tianzhao had ever seen a live carp. The noble consort pursed her lips, then laughed daintily. "My son is of royal blood. How could you be expected to recognize such a crude thing? It's nothing but the most ordinary fish used for cooking." His lips twitched up into a smile. "My brother's taste is certainly quite unique. Perhaps I should ask our royal father to gift him some fish with a little more value." Their words of admiration were thinly veiled barbs aimed straight at Prince Jing. Liu halted directly under the two of them, not even bothering to hide the fact that he was openly listening to them, utterly disgusted by their words. How dare they insult his owner and say he had no taste? That was the same as insulting him. They even had the audacity to say he was crude. Not even the emperor had gone that far. Liu flicked the water angrily. He had to do something. All of Lady Q's attention was on the little carp as she came closer. She had never seen such a lively fish before, but of course she could have never guessed that, when it had splashed water all over Prince Jing just now, it had done it on purpose. After all, it was just an ordinary fish. But this fish had more guts than the noble consort could ever imagine. As she peered down at him, Li Yu was preparing to give her a face full of water. He had already drenched Prince Jing. There was no way he was going to show any mercy to cannon fodder. But as the noble consort approached, a flash of light caught Li Yu's eyes, and he noticed a golden phoenix hairpin by her forehead. Held delicately within the peak of the phoenix was a large, sparkling pearl, about the size of a person's thumbnail. Li Yu felt his stomach drop. He had a bad feeling about this. That couldn't be. The eponymous pearl from his side quest, Clear Bright Pearl, right? The system, which had been silent for a long time, lightly replied, "User, you got it right." Li Yu was stunned. Stupid system! Could you get any more annoying? How was a fish supposed to retrieve a pearl from the forehead of the Emperor's beloved concubine? Splashing her was out of the question for now. The noble consort was still a little too far away. He had to get her to come a little closer first. Li Yu readied his fishtail. He was going to strike back. For the pearl! For Prince Jing! As for how, the noble consort was very calculating in the book, which meant she was also very suspicious. An idea started to form inside Li Yu's head. If you wanted to deal with these kinds of dirty tricks, you had to fight dirty too. How did a fish flip over again? Li Yu rolled over playfully, trying to rotate his belly up slowly. He floated in the water in that position without moving a muscle. It wasn't a comfortable position for a fish, but if he endured it for a little bit, he would definitely get results. The second prince was looking straight into the bowl while he spoke to noble consort Q. He saw it clearly when suddenly Prince Jing's fish twitched strangely, then flipped over. "Mother, what's wrong with the fish?" he blurted out. Noble consort, who was still basking in her smugness, glanced over, and her heart nearly stopped. Didn't fish flip over when they died? But this fish had been so lively a second ago. Lady Q hardly cared whether a fish lived or died, of course. But this was the fish Prince Jing had brought before the Emperor. The Emperor himself had been acquainted with it. But now the prince had left to change his clothes, and the two of them were closest to the fish when it suddenly died. Who'd be able to explain that? Was all this part of Prince Jing's plan? She used Piao Zhu to cause problems for him, so he was using his fish to turn the tables on her? It was very possible. Otherwise, why would Prince Jing bring a fish to see the Emperor? He had been waiting for this exact moment. This conspiracy theory was growing more and more likely to noble consort Q, who was well versed in back palace drama. As the fish rotated belly up in front of her, she began to panic. Oh. He's playing dead. Who said you can't teach a fish to play dead like a dog? He's a clever little fishy. Chapter 10, Fish Style Slap. Having been the favorite concubine for several years, noble consort Q knew the Emperor still had a soft spot for Prince Jing, which was why she harbored such resentment for the prince. What if this incident brought the Emperor's anger down on her, and in turn on the second prince, just when he was on the verge of becoming the crown prince? Noble consort refused to let herself and her son suffer through such a disaster, so she came up with what felt like an she came up with what was a genius idea. Zhao, come, don't make a sound. Let's hide the fish quickly. Mute Prince Jing was bewildered. Lady Q didn't want other people to get involved. Qingyan Palace was not her territory, and the Emperor was right there on the throne. If she asked her trusted servants to deal with this, it would only serve to attract his attention. The fewer people who knew that Prince Jing's fish had died, the better. Noble Consort and the second prince neatly blocked the bowl from onlookers' curious eyes, quickly devising a plan. First, Lady Q would hide the fish, then pretend to notice the fish had vanished, triggering a search party ordered by the Emperor. While everyone was distracted, she'd have time to furtively acquire another live fish. She would then have someone find it at just the right time and place. It would be a flawless switcheroo. Won't someone be able to tell? Miao Tianzhou was a little hesitant. His ascension to Crown Prince was tantalizingly close, and he didn't want anything to endanger it. What are you afraid of? Noble Consort laughed coldly. A fish like this? It's just a soup ingredient. They all look the same. Prince Jing probably won't even be able to tell the difference. Noble Consort was brimming with confidence, convinced her plan was foolproof. Otherwise, she wouldn't have dared come up with something like this. What else was she supposed to do? Just wait around for Prince Jing to make her life difficult? She took another glance at the flipped-over fish, floating on the water. They had to hide the fish well so no one would be able to find it. The blessed place would be inside her sleeves. No one would dare search the Noble Consort. Suppressing the urge to hurl, Lady Q reached for the fish using her handkerchief. Just as she was about to touch the fish, though, the very tip of its tail, which had originally been motionless, started to shake. Then it started struggling. Noble Consort and the second prince jumped. Stunned, Miao Tianzhou asked, "Mother, wasn't that fish supposed to be dead? How could a fish come back to life? This was way too bizarre." Noble Consort Q didn't have time to speculate any farther, nor did she have time to respond to the second prince. She wrapped the fish up in her handkerchief, but it was still very slippery, and now it was squirming around quite hard. If she let it slip out of her hand and fall into the floor, here in Qingyun Palace, right in front of the Emperor, she had already taken the first step. There was no turning back now. Sweat continued to bead on the noble consort's forehead. This woman had lived in the lap of luxury for a long time now, so she didn't have much grip strength. Furthermore, she was dealing with Li Yu, an expert at struggling. This time, he went all out. With his new, stronger tail, it didn't take much for him to escape her grasp. This was the closest the little carp was ever going to get to Lady Q. By now, Li Yu had lots of experience swinging his tail around. He calculated the distance and made a clean swing. His original plan was to jump onto the noble consort and give her a good scare. Then, in the ensuing chaos, he snatched the pearl. If that didn't work and he ended up being on the floor, he could just swing his tail a couple more times to try to get back to the bowl. The bowl was very close by. Being away from the water for such a short amount of time shouldn't be a problem. And besides, he had all that fresh water stored in his inventory. But, unfortunately, he used too much force. With one flip, he managed to set a whole new record, landing smack dab in the middle of the noble consort's face. Uh-oh. Noble Consort's vision was suddenly obstructed by something cold and slippery. Prince Jing's fish had thrown itself onto her face. She screeched in terror. Ah! Her scream instantly lit a fire under Li Yu. This was, after all, the first time he had ended up on someone's body or face as a fish. His tail flapped furiously in alarm, slapping the noble consort's face over and over again. The second prince didn't even know how to react. The flurry of slapping noises finally jolted him out of it, though, and he yelled in a panic, "Mother! Mother! Someone come quickly! Save my mother! Zhao, get it off! It's on my face! It's on my face!" All that the shocked and terrified lady could see was wet gray scales. She couldn't stop screaming. Mule Tianzhao wanted to help, but his hand froze midair, too afraid this fish would fly onto him next. Who knew what might happen? In the chaos, Li Yu found a suitable position on the noble consort's face and switched his tail once again, aiming for the glistening white pearl. This time he took careful command of his strength and slapped the golden hairpin with pinpoint accuracy. Bingo! The pearl fell from the hairpin onto the floor just as he planned. Noble Consort had put a bit of thought into choosing her hairpin, hoping to entice the emperor even when night fell with this priceless luminous pearl. But now she was panicking, too hard to fret about her hair accessories. Li Yu flapped his fins a few times, straining to reach the fallen pearl, but it was no use. The pearl was standing between him and turning back into a human, and it was about to fall into the golden bricks. It was all or nothing. Li Yu flung himself towards the jewel. Meanwhile, the emperor had been enjoying his tea while he waited for Prince Jing when suddenly he heard the noble consort and the second prince shouting and yelling. The emperor rushed over along with the head eunuch Lao to see what was happening, only to find the noble consort with her hair in disarray, her face paper white. Her hands were flailing about, clawing at nothing, while the second prince stood off to the side in uncertainty. The emperor didn't see Li Yu. Of course he wouldn't notice a little carp on the ground, chasing after the pearl, while the consort and her son were making such a fuss. "What is going on?" demanded the emperor, furious. Li Yu couldn't reach the luminous pearl. As it hit the floor and rolled away, he made a lunge for it. But it was too late. Just as he was about to reach the pearl, a pair of hands materialized from above and pressed down on his little fish body. Who was getting in the way of completing his quest? Incensed and indignant, Li Yu glared up, and straight at Prince Jing's face. Li Yu could see anger simmering beneath the surface. Fuck. Here he was flopping around, high off adrenaline at the prospect of completing his quest, only to get caught red-handed by the Tyrant. Li Yu blew a listless bubble. He wanted to hide and flat out deny everything. But he was in Prince Jing's palm. There was nowhere to hide. Had Prince Jing seen him slap noble consort and steal the pearl? He had to be in big trouble with the prince. But he wasn't playing around for no reason. Noble consort was definitely going to report Li Yu to the emperor for what he just did. But so long as he returned to the bowl before the emperor noticed him, there was no way the emperor would believe her. After all, how could a fish jump out of the bowl, humiliate Lady Q, and jump back in? Right. He needed to get back. It felt awful to be out of the water. He had to figure out a way to return to the bowl without Prince Jing noticing. But that was way harder than tricking Lady Q had been. Prince Jing was no fool. Li Yu had to be careful. While Li Yu was still racking his fish brain for ideas, Prince Jing slipped him gently back into the water. Li Yu was shocked and relieved to find himself surrounded by water in his bowl again. Wow, the tyrant actually put him back. He wiggled a bit to demonstrate his affection, but Prince Jing glared at him again. The little carp could clearly read the threat in the tyrant's eyes. "I'll deal with you later." The little fish is causing so much chaos. Li Yu shrunk back. Wait, is that why he didn't get mad earlier? He was saving it for later? He didn't want to be fish soup, and he didn't want to die either. So Li Yu decided he might as well let the tyrant pinch him a few more times. He arched his back into Prince Jing's hand in an effort to wiggle his way back into the prince's good graces. Surely letting Prince Jing get a few squeezes in would keep him out of trouble? Prince Jing stared, unimpressed. "Your Imperial Majesty, please believe me. I don't know why Prince Jing's fish just leaped onto my face." Lady Q was still in shock as she knelt in front of the Emperor, weeping. She loathed Prince Jing with all of her heart, so much that she wished for his death. Did she fall into his trap? Had Prince Jing acquired a fish with the ability to resurrect itself for the sole purpose of embarrassing her in front of the Emperor? This terrifying ordeal had the noble consort Q shocked out of her wits. She felt like everyone and everything was out to get her. The Emperor rubbed his temples and looked over at Prince Jing, faintly confused. Prince Jing scoffed and gestured at the bowl, placed not too far away, with his chin. He made sure no one was paying attention when he put the little carp back in. Since noble consort had bribed people to slander him, he'd give her a taste of her own medicine. Let her have a turn at being unable to explain herself. Prince Jing took another glance at the intriguing little carp that had managed to create this situation for him. What divine fortune. The Emperor ordered Lo Risheng to investigate the scene, only to be informed that Prince Jing's fish was swimming happily in this bowl. This time the Emperor was irate. The noble consort is telling a bald-faced lie. Prince Jing's fish is clearly still in the bowl. Lady Q felt all the blood rush to her head. Fury and anxiety saturated her voice. Your Majesty, it's true. That fish flew out just now. The Emperor's brow furrowed. So you're saying a fish can fly. And not only can it fly, but it flew out, harassed you, and then somehow flew back. At this point, the fish was like a trigger for a noble consort. She nodded furiously. That's exactly it. Zauer saw it too. Noble consort, have you gone mad? The Emperor sighed, disbelief written all over his face. Lady Q had seemed fine before, but all of a sudden she was kicking up a fuss, spewing all sorts of foolishness. A fish that could fly? How is that possible? If she hadn't gone mad, why else would she talk such nonsense, and even mess up her own hair? If you want to make up ridiculous stories, then so be it. But do you have to try to drag Zauer down with you? Miao Tianzhao had opened his mouth to collaborate his mother's account, but on hearing the Emperor's words, he shut it again. Smart boy! he was like, nope, I might as well just shut up right now. Noble consort kept shooting him pointed looks, but since the Emperor didn't believe her, the Emperor would only become more upset if he insisted on backing her up. What was the point of playing hero for a fleeting moment? Mute Tianzhao would give up anything for the position of Crown Prince. In a sensible tone, he said, Royal Father, you're right. I did not see it clearly. Miao Tianzhao guiltily avoided his mother's look of disbelief. He was about to become the Crown Prince. Was it wrong to have some self-preservation? The Emperor said unhappily, Noble consort, even Tianzhao agrees. What do you have to say for yourself? Lady Q bit her cherry lips. Your Imperial Majesty, I forgot myself and misspoke. Please forgive me. Even her own son had turned his back on her, so what else could she say? She had a momentary lapse in judgment. It didn't matter how much she complained. It was useless if the Emperor didn't believe her. The best thing for her to do now was to keep her head down and wait for the Emperor's anger to dissipate. There was no need to fight with a stupid fish. Right at the moment the Lady Q admitted her folly, Prince Jing's boot stepped on an embroidered handkerchief. Wang Yi, who had been falling behind Prince Jing, rushed forward and picked the handkerchief up. Wang Yi shook the handkerchief out to check who it belonged to and let out a shocked exclamation. Wang Yi, what is your issue? Groaned the Emperor, whose head was beginning to hurt from all these things happening one after another. Wang Yi said, Your Majesty, the servant just picked up the noble consort's handkerchief. But why does it have fish scales on it? As he spoke, Wang Yi raised the handkerchief so that everyone could see. A handkerchief embroidered with crab apple flowers. Even the emperor knew it belonged to the noble consort. And just as Wang Yi said, there was a few fish scales still stuck to it. Why would the noble consort handkerchief have fish scales on it? There was only one fish in all of Qi Palace. Here, let me see. We're almost there. Prince Jing's fierce eyes flashed over to the noble consort, his gaze sharp as a knife. Wang Yi immediately spoke for the prince. Fish scales are part of the fish. They don't fall off for no reason. Did the noble consort do something to our master fish while our prince wasn't here? As expected, a Prince Jing spokesperson. A powerful attack from Wang Gonggong. Li Yi was delighted. But when did he become a master? He was just a fish. Master? The emperor was speechless. Wang Yi beamed as he explained. Your Imperial Majesty, the servant heard this from Zhao Lingzi first. Zhao Lingzi called the noble consort's cat Master Cat. It's only logical for His Highness's fish to be Master Fish. He has a point. He has a point. As the master of the world, the emperor was everyone's master. Was the noble consort trying to put the cat and the emperor on the same level by calling it master? Nonsense. Do not call them that in the future, the emperor glared at Lady Q. Noble consort Q, what did you do to Prince Jing's fish? Why are there fish scales on your handkerchief? There was no way the noble consort was going to admit she used a handkerchief to pick the fish up. She hadn't realized it at first, but the moment she walked over to look at the fish, the tables had been turning against her. This fish definitely had it in for her. She barely even had time to do anything. The fish was clearly the one who was tormenting her. Noble consort sobbed. Your Imperial Majesty, why don't you ask Prince Jing? He was the one who bullied my, Piangxu first. Your Imperial Majesty! Throwing everything to the wind, Wang Yi fell to his knees and declared loudly, People are always taking advantage of His Highness's inability to speak in order to frame him. As you know, his injuries take a long time to heal. It's been true since he was young. All the Imperial physicians know this. When His Highness was changing just now, the servant noticed a large bruise on his leg. Its position matches the body shape of the cat. That day, the noble consort's cat ran into His Highness first, and that's why His Highness taught it a lesson. This servant implores your Imperial Majesty to believe His Highness. Master Fish, yes. A bruise from the cat? Noble consort's pupils constricted. Why hadn't she thought of such a flaw in her plan? Almost there. 2 pages left. The emperor was very upset to hear Prince Jing had been injured, and he immediately called for an imperial physician to treat his injury. Once the doctor confirmed that there really was a bruise, the emperor was no longer able to contain his ire. It's just a cat! How dare it injure a prince? It seems he was right. It really did deserve it. If the cat was the one who ran into Prince Jing, Zhao Linzin must have lied. A quick investigation uncovered the truth. He had been bribed by the noble consort. Queen Palace was a bloodbath. The flames of the emperor's temper surged to a fierce blaze. He hadn't announced the crown prince yet, and noble consort was already out for Prince Jing's blood. When she became the emperor dowager in the future, would Prince Jing make it out alive? The emperor confined Lady Q to her palace, where she was banned from coming out without summons. Originally, he'd been planning to promote her to imperial noble consort. She got put on house arrest. Okay, imperial noble consort is the only one rank below the empress. As a sign of respect, when there is an empress, there usually isn't a imperial noble consort. When the position of empress is empty and someone gets promoted to imperial noble consort, it is a signal that they hold the same authority as that of the empress and may be promoted to empress soon. Oh, she was gonna become she was close to becoming the most powerful female in the kingdom. She fucked up. Yes, get her. Yes. It's all coming. It's all working out. Originally, he had been planning to promote her to Imperial Noble Consort soon after her birthday, but he really didn't feel like it anymore. Even looking at the future Crown Prince, the second prince, put him in a foul mood. Lady Q could have never predicted that her carefully planned scheme would be thwarted in the end by a mere fish. Li Yu had really gone above and beyond this time. It was rowdy out there in the palace, and listening to the kerfuffle was making him sleepy. Thinking there was still a couple pieces of food left at the bottom of the bowl, Li Yu managed to pull himself together enough to swim over and eat the fish food. Just as he was about to doze off, he was hit with a feeling he had forgotten something. Wait. The clear, bright pearl! He almost forgotten! Li Yu immediately flew up to the surface, scanning his surroundings. There it was! The pearl was sitting all by its lonesome in the corner of the palace. No one had realized the noble consort's hair ornament was missing a luminous pearl. Li Yu was itching to go for it. All he had to do was sneak out and grab the pearl. Even a touch would be good. Perhaps that would be enough for a quest complete. But just then, Wang Yi strolled over, all smiles, grabbed his bowl, and headed outside. What? It turned out the Emperor was still reprimanding Lady Q. Prince Jing didn't have the patience to listen any longer, so he got up to leave. The little carp that had accompanied him to meet the Emperor obviously had to leave with him too. Hey, are you kidding me? I hadn't grabbed the pearl! Wang Yi was only a few steps away from leaving the palace, bowl in hand, when he saw the little carp leaning up against the rim of the bowl. It seemed to be staring longingly in a particular direction. Wang Yi nearly laughed out loud. He shook his head. He must be imagining things. As he watched the pearl get further and further away from him, his chances of completing the mission dwindling, Li Yu felt himself deflate. Right next to him, Prince Jing noted the little carp looking listless. He considered for a moment, then ordered a servant to go and take a look. Before long, the servant came back holding a pearl. Prince Jing recognized the luminous pearl. It was the same one the noble consort wore on her head. He was very sure this was what the little carp had been looking at, because when he emerged from the side hall after changing, he saw the little carp flopping after it. It wanted the jewel that badly. Master! Master, please give me the pearl! An invigorated Li Yu swam over. He shimmied cutely, trying to cozy up to the prince by swimming in circles around his hand. It was obviously Li Yu was trying to kiss up to him. Did the fish think wiggling cutely a few times would get him a pearl? It wouldn't be that easy. Prince Jing still had a bone to pick with him. With a faint smile, Prince Jing slipped the pearl into his sleeves. He got the pearl, but he hasn't got the pearl. He hasn't completed the mission, and the prince is just like, oh, you want this? You want this? And you think just being cute will get it for you? No, boy, you did so much. You're in trouble. But I'm taking it with me just because. Yay! Oh, I think chapter 11 is the one with the really, really, really hilarious scene. Oh goodness. Let me see. I'm gonna check real quick. Oh no! Hang on, I was checking real quick. Okay. Yeah, chapter 11 is kind of funny. But it's also really long. So we're going to hang on and cover that one next time. I was hoping we would get to that situation during this live stream, but I am done. I am done for the day. Uh, oh, our fish caused so much chaos today. Oh, but don't you just love him? Oh, wait. The emperor likes that he had a up to you. Well, my throat's trying to murder me today, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to do one more chapter. So it was a long one. If it was a little shorter, we would try it, but my throat's just like no. So I know it'd be torture to get through that chapter. We'll cover it next time. So that's something to look forward to. It is very, very hilarious. It really is. But I hope everybody enjoyed this. If you did, please let me know with a comment or a like. It lets me know you guys would be interested in another read through. As always, this is all. Oh, my brain is fried. This is one of my favorite books, and even reading it again, this is like the third or fourth time I've read volume 1. Actually, I think it's like the fourth time. I still love every minute of it. It's so great. That little fish. He's so chaotic. He's trying so hard. All right, everybody. I hope you have a good day.